Zarakesh stood at the large window of the Earth Diplomatic Center, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors her homeworld never displayed. The blue planet had such strange, beauty-violent weather patterns, unstable tectonics, and yet something about it called to her scientific mind. She adjusted her breathing apparatus and checked her translator one more time. After 6 months of preparation, today she would meet her human host family. Nervous? Asked Lelthan, her mission coordinator. Curious, Zara replied, her inner light pulsing slightly faster in what humans might recognize as excitement. The humans have agreed to share their reproductive science data. It's unprecedented. Lelthan's light dimmed slightly. Remember your training. Their methods are primitive. Do not show distress when they explain their processes. Zara tilted her head. The Elunari reproductive process, the gentle merging of energy fields, the shared consciousness as new life formed between bonded pairs, was considered the height of evolutionary advancement. She knew other species reproduced differently, but humans were classified as biologically complex in her briefing materials, with no further details provided. Dr. Collins has arrived, announced the human liaison officer, interrupting her thoughts. A woman with curly red hair and bright eyes walked into the room. She wore what Zara recognized as a lab coat, and her face formed the expression humans called a smile. Welcome to Earth, Zarakesh. I'm Amy Collins. It's an honor to be your host for the exchange program. The woman's voice was warm. Zara bowed in the human style she had practiced. The honor is mine, Dr. Collins. Thank you for allowing me to study your species' biological processes. Amy laughed softly. Please, call me Amy, and I hope we'll learn from each other. Your species' cellular regeneration abilities could revolutionize our medicine. The ride to Amy's home was filled with Zara asking questions about everything she saw through the car window. The buildings, the trees, the animals' Earth was so diverse compared to the carefully balanced ecosystem of her homeworld. Here we are, Amy said as they pulled into the driveway of a small house with plants growing around it. It's not fancy, but Jack and I call it home. Jack? Zara asked. My husband. He teaches literature at the university. He's very excited to meet you. Zara searched her knowledge of human terms. Husband ... your reproductive partner? Amy's cheeks turned slightly pink. Well, yes, though we usually say life partner or spouse. In casual conversation. Inside the house, a tall human male was placing food on a table. He looked up and smiled widely. You must be our visitor from the stars. I'm Jack Collins. He wiped his hand on a cloth before extending it. Zara remembered the human greeting ritual and carefully shook his hand, her sensory tendrils retracting slightly at the unfamiliar touch. Zarakesh, xenobiologist of the Elunari Cooperative. Your home has pleasing energy patterns. Jack looked at Amy with a questioning expression. I think she likes our house, Amy translated with a smile. Zara, Jack has prepared dinner. Are the food accommodations we discussed suitable? The meal was strange, but fascinating. Zara's species could consume similar organic compounds to humans, though she needed to process them through her portable converter first. The conversation flowed easily as Jack asked about Elunari literature and shared stories about human authors. So you two live together in this dwelling unit permanently? Zara asked, noticing how the humans occasionally touched hands across the table. Yes. For 5 years now, Amy said. That's common for married couples on Earth. And you share a sleeping space? Zara continued, remembering the house tour that had shown only one bedroom with a large sleeping platform. The humans exchanged quick glances. Yes, we share a bed, Jack said. That's normal for human couples. Zara made notes in her mental database. Fascinating. On my world, even bonded pairs maintain separate rest chambers. Physical proximity is not required for our bonding. After dinner, Amy showed Zara to the guest room where she would stay. The room had been modified with the environmental controls her species needed. Zara thanked her hosts and began her evening meditation, processing the day's new information. Hours later, Zara was analyzing some data when she heard strange sounds from the human's room. Soft at first, then louder rhythmic noises, and what sounded like gasping. Concerned, she approached their door, but stopped when she remembered the briefing about human privacy customs. Instead, she accessed the small data terminal Amy had provided for her research. Zara entered a search about human sleeping habits, but was distracted by a related topic, human reproduction. Curious, she began reading. The first articles were basic and scientific, explaining human anatomy. Zara understood the concept of binary sex differentiation. Many species had similar systems. But as she read further about the actual reproductive process, her inner light began to pulse erratically. Physical joining of bodies? Internal fertilization? Exchange of bodily fluids? The diagrams showed Zara quickly closed several files, her sensory tendrils curling in distress. The Elunari reproduced through synchronized energy fields, a harmonious, non-invasive process where consciousness briefly merged and new life formed from the resonance patterns. Nothing entered another's body. Nothing grew inside anyone. The sounds from the other room suddenly took on new meaning. Were they humans? Zara quickly turned off her terminal and retreated to her meditation mat, trying to calm her thoughts. Next morning, Zara found it difficult to meet her host's eyes at breakfast. Amy seemed to notice her discomfort. "Is everything all right with your room? You seem troubled." Zara's translator struggled to find polite words. "The accommodations are excellent. I was researching human biology last night." Amy's expression changed to understanding. "Ah, did you have questions? That's why you're here, after all. Your reproductive methods are not what I expected," Zara said carefully. Jack nearly choked on his drink. "Maybe I should head to work early today." Amy placed her hand on his. "It's fine, Jack. This is a scientific exchange." She turned to Zara. "Would you prefer to discuss this at the lab? I can show you proper educational materials." Zara nodded gratefully. Yes, that would be more appropriate. Later that day at the North American Science Institute, Amy led Zara into a private research room. The walls displayed detailed anatomical images that made Zara's sensory tendrils twitch nervously. "Before we begin," Amy said gently, "remember that different evolutionary paths lead to different solutions. What seems strange to you is natural to us." Zara steeled herself. "I understand. Please explain how humans create new life." Amy began her presentation, moving from basic cell division to detailed explanations of human reproduction. With each new slide, each scientific term, Zara's understanding grew, and so did her horror. By the time Amy finished explaining the 9-month gestation period, Zara was struggling to maintain her composure. The thought of another living being developing inside one's body, changing it, feeding from it, it went against everything the Elunari considered sacred about bodily autonomy. "Are you all right?" Amy asked, noticing Zara's distress. "You carry offspring ... inside your body?" Zara asked, hoping she had misunderstood. "Yes, that's how all mammals on Earth reproduce." Zara's translator emitted a small sound that might have been a gasp. "And you consider this normal? Not traumatic?" Amy smiled gently. "It's how all humans begin life. It's how I began, how Jack began. It's natural for us." Zara tried to process this information scientifically, but all she could think was that somewhere in the Institute, Commander Velthrak was receiving her vital sign readings. And based on those readings, he was surely already preparing for her. Emergency extraction from what he would consider a deeply traumatic first contact situation. Commander Velthrak paced the length of the Elinari ship's communication chamber. The vital sign readings from Zara's monitor had spiked in patterns consistent with severe distress. Such readings typically triggered immediate extraction protocols. But the diplomatic implications of removing their lead, xenobiologist from the first-ever human exchange program, would be significant. "Play the most recent audio from her translator," he ordered. The system activated, and he heard Zara's voice. "You carry offspring. Inside your body?" Followed by the human female's calm reply about mammals and reproduction. Velthrek's inner light dimmed with concern. The humans had revealed their reproductive methods to Zara without proper psychological preparation. He opened a direct channel to her communication device. Meanwhile, in the research lab, Zara was trying to compose herself as Amy showed diagrams of fetal development. "This is a human embryo at 8 weeks, Amy explained, pointing to an image. "By this stage, the major organs are forming." Zara stared at the image. "And the female's body changes to accommodate this growth?" "Yes, the uterus expands, hormones fluctuate, and various systems adjust to support the developing baby." Zara's communication device beeped urgently. "Excuse me," she said to Amy, stepping away to answer. "Xenobiologist Zara Kesh, your vital signs indicate distress," Commander Velthrak said through the secure channel. "We are preparing extraction." "Procedures?" "No," Zara replied quickly. "I am experiencing cultural shock, but extraction is unnecessary. This is valuable research data." "The readings suggest severe psychological impact," Velthrak argued. "I was unprepared for certain aspects of human biology," Zara admitted, "but I am adapting. Terminating the mission would damage our diplomatic relations." After a long pause, Velthrak responded, "You have 24 Earth hours to stabilize your readings, or we will extract you regardless of diplomatic consequences." The communication ended, and Zara returned to Amy, who looked concerned. "Is everything okay?" Amy asked. "My superiors are worried about my reaction to your reproductive information," Zara explained. "In our culture, what you describe would be considered deeply invasive." Amy's expression softened. "I understand. Different evolutionary paths lead to different perspectives. Would you like to take a break?" "No," Zara said firmly. "I need to understand. Please continue." Amy nodded and moved to the next slide. After fertilization, the zygote travels to the uterus and implants in the lining, where it will develop over approximately 9 months, and the female willingly accepts this process. Zara asked, still struggling with the concept. "Most pregnancies are planned and welcomed," Amy explained, "though not all. Humans have developed various methods of contraception to prevent pregnancy when it's not desired." Zara made notes in her datapad. "And the male's role after fertilization?" "Biologically, nothing further is required," Amy said. "But in most modern human relationships, partners support each other throughout pregnancy and child-rearing." "Like Jack would support you?" Zara asked. Amy smiled. "Yes, exactly." The rest of the day was filled with more detailed explanations that left Zara simultaneously fascinated and disturbed. When they returned home that evening, Jack had prepared dinner. "Again, how was Science Day?" he asked cheerfully. "Informative," Amy replied, giving him a meaningful look. Jack nodded in understanding. "Well, I hope you both worked up an appetite." During dinner, Zara observed the human couple more carefully. Despite what she now knew about their reproductive methods, they seemed peaceful, happy even. There was no indication that either found their biological processes traumatic. "May I ask a personal question?" Zara said suddenly. "Of course," Amy replied. "Do you plan to produce offspring together?" The humans exchanged glances. "We've been discussing it," Jack admitted. "Not immediately, but yes, we'd like to have children someday." "And you're not afraid of the process?" Zara asked, looking at Amy. Amy considered this. "There's some apprehension, naturally. Pregnancy and childbirth are significant physical events. But humans have been doing this for our entire existence. Our bodies are designed for it." Later that night, Zara sat in her room, recording her observations. "The humans speak of their reproductive process with remarkable casualness," she noted. "They describe what the Elunari would consider bodily invasion as natural and even desirable. This suggests fundamentally different concepts of bodily autonomy between our species." Her communication device beeped again. This time it was Lelthan, her mission coordinator. "Zara, the ship has received your data transmission about human reproduction. The Science Council is ... concerned." "What kind of concerns?" Zara asked. "Some believe we may have misjudged humanity's evolutionary status. Others question whether we should continue relations with a species that reproduces through such ... primitive methods." Zara felt a surge of frustration. That's short-sighted. Despite their reproductive biology, humans have created art, literature, complex social structures, and advanced technology. The Council has called an emergency meeting to discuss the implications. Commander Velthrock is advocating for immediate withdrawal from Earth. That would be a mistake, Zara argued. There is much we can learn from humans, regardless of how they reproduce. After ending the communication, Zara couldn't sleep. Her mind kept returning to the images Amy had shown her. The idea of a separate organism growing inside one's body still seemed horrifying. Yet humans had built an entire civilization while reproducing this way. The next morning, Zara found Amy in the kitchen, preparing a beverage humans called coffee. "I have a request," Zara said. "I believe I need more comprehensive information to understand human reproduction in context." Amy looked up. "What kind of information?" "My species views reproduction as a purely biological function, separated from emotion. But humans seem to connect reproduction with concepts like family and love. I need to understand these connections." Amy smiled. "That's very insightful, Zara. Human reproduction isn't just biological. It's deeply intertwined with our social and emotional lives." "Then perhaps I've been approaching this research incorrectly," Zara suggested. "Instead of focusing solely on the biological process, maybe I should study how reproduction shapes human culture and relationships." "That sounds like an excellent approach," Amy agreed. "And it might help your people understand us better." Later that day, Amy arranged for Zara to visit the university hospital's maternity ward from a safe observation distance, respecting both her cultural sensitivities and hospital protocols. As Zara watched through a viewing window, she saw a human female holding a newborn infant. The woman's face showed exhaustion, but also an expression Zara couldn't quite classify. The baby, small and wrinkled, made tiny movements with its hands. "What is the female experiencing?" Zara asked the attending nurse who was guiding their tour. "Joy, relief, love," the nurse replied. "She's been waiting 9 months to meet her child. After carrying it inside her body, she feels positive emotions toward it." The nurse nodded. "It's often described as the strongest bond humans can experience." Zara watched in silence as the new mother gently touched the baby's face. Despite the biological process that still seemed invasive to Elunari sensibilities, there was something about this interaction that transcended mere reproduction. As they left the hospital, Zara's communication device beeped once more. Commander Velthrock's message was brief. "The Council has voted. You have 48 hours to complete your research and return to the ship. The Elunari are suspending the exchange program." Zara looked at Amy, who was unaware of the message. Somehow, She had to make her people understand that there was more to humanity than their reproductive biology. But with only 2 days remaining, time was running out. Zara stood in the living room of Amy and Jack's house, looking at the small collection of framed images on the wall. They showed the human couple in various settings, at a beach, in a forest, surrounded by other humans who Amy had explained were family. In each image, they were touching in some way holding hands, arms around shoulders, faces close together. 48 hours, Zara whispered to herself. How could she possibly help her people understand humanity in such a short time? Everything okay? Jack asked, entering the room with a stack of books. Zara turned to him. My superiors have concerns about continuing our exchange program. Because of our reproductive methods? Jack asked. Amy had told them about Zara's reaction at the lab. Yes, they believe it indicates humans are more primitive than we initially assessed. Jack placed the books on a table and sighed. That seems like judging an entire symphony by a single note. Zara tilted her head, her translator processing the metaphor. An apt comparison. I need to show them there's more to understand. Well, I brought some books that might help, Jack said, gesturing to the stack. They're stories about human families, relationships, and yes, reproduction, but from a cultural and emotional perspective, not just biological. Zara picked up one of the books. This is valuable, thank you. I also called some friends who'd be willing to talk with you couples at different stages of life. If you want to understand how reproduction fits into human existence, it might help to see the bigger picture. That afternoon, Zara met with Ben and Olivia Ford in their small apartment. They had been married for 2 years and were expecting their first child in 3 months. Olivia's abdomen was visibly enlarged. May I ask why you chose to reproduce? Zara asked after they had exchanged greetings. Ben and Olivia looked at each other with warm expressions. We love each other, Olivia said simply. Creating a family together felt like a natural extension of that love. Were you not concerned about the physical changes and risks? Zara asked, looking at Olivia's pregnant form. Olivia placed a hand on her rounded belly. There have been difficult moments. Morning sickness in the first months, back pain now that I'm bigger. But feeling the baby move inside me, double quotes, her face softened. It's unlike anything else. You can feel the offspring moving within your body? Zara asked, her sensory tendrils curling slightly. Would you like to feel? Olivia offered, extending her hand toward Zara. Zara hesitated and carefully placed her hand where Olivia indicated. At first, there was nothing, then a distinct movement against her palm. Zara pulled back in surprise. That single quotes S. The new human? That's our daughter, Ben said proudly, already making her presence known. Zara observed how both humans looked at Olivia's belly with a mixture of protection, pride, and something else her translator couldn't quite define. Later, Zara visited an elderly couple, the Millers, who had been married for 52 years. Their dwelling was filled with images of smaller humans in various stages of development. These are all your offspring? Zara asked, looking at the many pictures. Our children, grandchildren, and even 2 great-grandchildren, Mrs. Miller explained. 3 generations after us, and you produced them all. Internally? Zara asked, still struggling with the concept. Mr. Miller laughed gently. We had 3 children of our own. The rest came from them and their partners. What was your purpose in reproducing? The elderly couple seemed surprised by the question. I'm not sure we thought of it as having a purpose, Mrs. Miller said. We loved each other and wanted to create a family together. But the physical process, Zara began, is temporary, Mrs. Miller interjected kindly. The family we created is forever. That evening, back at the Collins house, Zara recorded her observations while Amy prepared dinner. Jack was grading papers in the living room. The humans view reproduction not primarily as a biological function, but as a social and emotional process, Zara noted in her report. The physical aspects that the Elinari find disturbing are considered by humans to be temporary phases in a much longer journey of family creation. Her communication device beeped with an incoming transmission from the ship. Lelthan appeared on the small screen. "The Council has reviewed your preliminary data," he said without greeting. "They remain concerned. Commander Velthrock has suggested that human reproduction may indicate dangerous biological instincts that could eventually threaten the Elunari." "That's an unfounded conclusion," Zara argued. "The physical nature of human reproduction has not prevented them from developing advanced empathy, art, and peaceful cooperation. Nevertheless, the commander has ordered all Elunari to return to the ship by tomorrow evening. The Council will then vote on whether to terminate diplomatic relations with Earth." After the communication ended, Zara sat motionless, her inner light pulsing with distress. 24 hours left, not 48. Even less time to change her people's minds. Amy called everyone for dinner. As they ate, Zara observed the easy companionship between the human couple. Small touches, shared glances, subtle movements that indicated deep familiarity. "I have a request," Zara said suddenly. "Would you tell me how you decided to become pair-bonded?" Amy and Jack exchanged surprised looks. "You mean how we fell in love and got married?" Amy asked. "Yes. Among the Elunari, pair bonding is based on energy compatibility and intellectual resonance." "I'm curious about human factors," Jack smiled. "We met at a university function. I thought Amy was brilliant and beautiful. She thought I was annoying at first," Amy finished with a laugh, "but persistent and kind." "What made you choose each other as potential reproductive partners?" Zara asked. The humans' faces showed slight embarrassment. "We didn't really think about it that way," Jack explained. "We enjoyed being together. We made each other happy. Eventually, we decided we wanted to share our lives." "And reproduction came later in the discussion," Amy said, "after we were already committed to each other." That night, Zara couldn't rest. She reviewed all the data she had collected, the biological information, the cultural context, the personal stories. Humans approached reproduction so differently from the Elunari, yet there were surprising parallels in the emotional connections formed out in the early morning hours. Zara made a decision. She activated her communication device. "Lelthan, I need to address the full council before they vote." "That's unprecedented for a field researcher," Lelthan replied. "So is terminating relations with a species based on reproductive biology alone," Zara countered. "I have critical data they must consider." After a long pause, Lelthan responded, "I will submit your request." Hours later, Zara received confirmation she would be permitted to present her findings to the council before their vote. But she would need to return to the ship immediately to prepare. When Amy and Jack woke, Zara explained the situation. "You're leaving today?" Amy asked, clearly disappointed. "I must. The future of human-Elunari relations may depend on what I report to the council." Jack nodded solemnly. "Then you should tell them the truth as you've observed it. Will you return?" Amy asked. Zara's inner light pulsed softly. "I hope to. There is much more I wish to learn about humans." As the Collins couple drove Zara to the Elunari ship's landing site, she looked out at the human city passing by, families walking together, couples holding hands, parents with small children. Despite their reproductive methods that had initially horrified her, there was something about human connections that now fascinated her instead. The Elunari ship waited, its smooth surface reflecting the afternoon sun. Commander Velthrock stood at the entry ramp, his posture rigid with disapproval. "Remember," Amy said as they stopped, "different doesn't mean wrong or primitive. Zara nodded. I will try to help my people understand that. With a final farewell to the humans who had hosted her, Zara walked toward the ship, her mind already organizing the presentation that might determine the future relationship between their species. The Elunari ship hummed with nervous energy as Zara followed Commander Velthrak through the curved hallways. Other Elunari they passed stared at her with pulsing lights that indicated curiosity and concern. News of her research into human reproduction had spread throughout the ship. The council is assembled, Velthrak said stiffly. They have reviewed your data transmissions, but wish to hear your direct observations. And your recommendation to the council? Zara asked. Velthrak's inner light dimmed slightly. I believe contact with humans should be limited to necessary diplomatic exchanges only. Their reproductive methods suggest primitive biological drives that could be unpredictable. Zara fought to keep her own inner light steady. With respect, Commander, I believe that assessment is incomplete. They entered the council chamber, A, circular room where 7 senior Elunari sat in a semicircle. Their combined light created a soft glow that filled the space. In the center was a projection platform where Zara would present her findings. The head counselor, Tivral, spoke first. Xenobiologist Zarakesh, your vital signs during initial contact with human reproductive information indicated severe distress. Yet your subsequent reports suggest a more nuanced view. Explain this contradiction. Zara stepped onto the platform. Respected Consul, my initial reaction was indeed one of shock. The human reproductive process internal gestation, physical. Earth contradicts our most basic Elunari concepts of bodily autonomy. The council members' lights pulsed in agreement. However, Zara continued, I have discovered that viewing human reproduction solely through an Elunari biological lens provides an incomplete picture. To understand humans, we must consider their reproduction within their cultural and emotional frameworks. She activated the platform's display, showing images she had collected the human couples she had interviewed, children with parents, multi-generational families. Humans view reproduction not primarily as a biological function, but as the creation of family bonds that extend through time. The physical process that we find disturbing is, to them, a temporary phase in a much longer journey. This does not change the primitive nature of their methods, one council member objected. With respect, it changes everything, Zara countered. The Elunari define evolutionary advancement by physical processes. Humans define it differently. They have created art, literature, philosophy, and advanced technology while reproducing in ways we find primitive. This suggests our definition of advancement may be too narrow. Commander Velthrak stepped forward. The xenobiologist has been influenced by prolonged human contact. Their reproductive methods indicate biological instincts that could be dangerous if our species become too closely aligned. Zara's inner light flashed with rare irritation. Commander, have you observed any aggressive behavior from humans during our contact? No, but have they shown disrespect for Elunari customs or biology? No, however. Then your concerns are theoretical rather than evidence-based, Zara said firmly. The council chamber grew quiet. It was unusual for a junior researcher to challenge a commander so directly. Tivril broke the silence. You believe we should continue relations with humans despite their reproductive methods? I believe we should continue relations with humans because of what their reproductive methods have taught them, Zara replied. Humans experience a vulnerability through their reproduction that the Elunari do not. A human carrying offspring is temporarily physically limited. This has taught their species to develop strong protective social bonds and cooperation. She displayed more images, human medical facilities, community support systems, educational institutions. Humans have built entire social structures around supporting their reproductive vulnerability. This has fostered empathy and cooperation on a scale that rivals our own, despite emerging from a completely different biological foundation. The council members' lights pulsed as they communicated silently among themselves. Finally, Tivril spoke again. "You have given us much to consider, xenobiologist Zarakesh. The council will deliberate. You are dismissed." Zara left the chamber, her inner light dimming with exhaustion. She had done everything possible to help the council understand. Now she could only wait. In her rest chamber, Zara reviewed her notes from Earth one more time. She lingered on the images of Amy and Jack, wondering what they were doing now. Would they discuss having children someday? The thought no longer filled her with horror, just a complex mixture of fascination and something approaching understanding. Hours later, Lelthan came to her chamber. "The council requests your presence." Back in the council chamber, Tivrel addressed her directly. "After consideration, the council has reached a decision. While we maintain concerns about human reproductive biology, we acknowledge the validity of your cultural observations. The exchange program will continue, but with additional precautions." Zara's inner light brightened with relief. However, Tivril continued, "All Illuminari participants will receive comprehensive briefing on human biology before contact to prevent psychological distress. And you, xenobiologist Zarakesh, will develop this training program based on your experiences." "I am honored to accept this responsibility," Zara replied. "Furthermore," Tivrel added, "the council believes your research should continue. You will return to Earth to expand your study of human reproduction and family structures. This knowledge is essential for meaningful long-term relations between our species." Commander Velthruck's light pulsed with surprise. "Head Counselor, is this wise? Extended exposure to human biological concepts could advance our understanding of different evolutionary paths," Tivril interrupted. "Xenobiologist Zarakesh has demonstrated remarkable adaptability. She is suited for this assignment." As Zara left the council chamber, Lelthan followed her. "This is unprecedented," he said. "Your research has changed the council's approach to an entire species." "I simply showed them what I observed," Zara replied. "Humans are different from us, but their differences have value." The next morning, as the Elunari ship prepared to return to its high orbit position, Zara received permission to contact her human hosts. Amy's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression brightening when she saw Zara. "You're still in orbit. We thought you might have left Earth already." "The council has approved continued research," Zara explained. "I will be returning to continue our exchange program." Amy's smile widened. "That's wonderful news. When will you arrive?" "Within 2 Earth days. There is much more I wish to learn about human family structures." "Well, you'll have some new material to study," Amy said, her hand moving to rest on her abdomen in a gesture Zara now recognized. "Jack and I just found out yesterday. I'm pregnant." Zara's translator took a moment to process the term. Pregnant, carrying offspring. The human was in the early stages of their reproductive process. 6 months ago, this news would have filled Zara with horror. Now, she felt a complex emotion her translator couldn't quite define, something between scientific curiosity and personal connection. "This is significant news," Zara said carefully. "You are well?" "A little nervous, but yes, very well. And very happy." Zara considered what she had learned about human reproduction, not just the biology, but the meaning humans attach to it. "Then I share in your happiness," she said, "and I look forward to learning from your experience." As the communication ended, Zara made a new entry in her research log. "Today I begin a new phase of research observing human reproduction, not as a distant biological process, but as a lived experience through the pregnancy of my host, Amy Collins. The Council believes this research will advance Elunari understanding of humanity. I believe it may also advance my understanding of life itself. Outside the viewport of her chamber, Earth turned slowly against the blackness of space, blue and green and alive with billions of beings, reproducing in ways the Elunari had once found horrifying. Zara now saw it differently, as a planet of remarkable diversity and connection, with much to teach her people about different paths to advancement. 6 months had passed since Zara's return to Earth. In that time, the Elunari Human Exchange Program had expanded, with 12 more Elunari researchers now living among humans in different parts of the world. Each had received Zara's specialized training about human reproduction before their arrival. Preventing the shock she had experienced, Zara sat in the waiting room of the medical center, her datapad ready to record observations. Today was Amy's 20-week checkup, a milestone in human pregnancy that included something called an ultrasound scan. Amy had invited Zara to attend as part of her research. Jack paced nervously nearby. "This is when we might learn if it's a boy or a girl," he explained to Zara. "If the baby is positioned right." "You do not know the offspring's biological classification yet?" Zara asked. "We wanted to be surprised," Amy said, resting her hand on her now visible pregnant belly. "But the waiting is getting to both of us." A medical professional called Amy's name, and they all followed her into an examination room. Zara observed carefully as Amy lay on a padded table and lifted her shirt to expose her rounded abdomen. "This is a completely non-invasive procedure," the technician explained to Zara, seeming comfortable with the alien observer. Such encounters had become more common as the exchange program expanded. "We use sound waves to create images of the baby." Zara watched as the technician applied a clear gel to Amy's skin and then pressed a small device against it. The screen nearby flickered, and suddenly a grainy black and white image appeared. "There's your baby," the technician said with a smile. Zara leaned closer, fascinated. The image showed a small being with a large head, tiny limbs, and a clearly visible spine. Despite her months of research, seeing this real-time view of a human offspring developing inside another human still struck her as remarkable. "The heart rate is strong and regular," the technician continued, as a rapid whooshing sound filled the room. "Would you like to know the sex?" Amy and Jack exchanged glances and nodded. "Congratulations, you're having a girl." Jack's eyes filled with moisture, a human response Zara had learned indicated strong emotion. He squeezed Amy's hand tightly. Amy, too, had tears in her eyes as she stared at the screen. "A daughter," Amy whispered. Zara recorded these reactions, noting how the humans responded emotionally to information that was essentially just biological data. Yet somehow, in that moment, Zara understood that for humans, it was much more than data. That evening, back at the Collins house, Amy and Jack talked excitedly about names, nursery colors, and future plans. Zara observed their conversation while updating her research logs. "We should probably tell our parents now that we know it's a girl," Jack suggested. "Your mother will immediately start buying pink everything," Amy laughed. "Have you selected a designation for the offspring?" Zara asked. "We're thinking of naming her Lily," Amy said. "It was my grandmother's name." "Humans pass names through genetic lines?" Zara asked, making another note. "Sometimes. It's a way of honoring family connections," Jack explained. Later that night, Zara transmitted her latest observations to the Elunari ship. Commander Velthrak had been replaced as Earth mission leader, reassigned after the Council determined his biases might interfere with objective assessment of humans. The new commander, Tellaner, was more open to Zara's research. "Approach. Your observations continue to provide valuable insight," Tellaner replied to her transmission. "The Council is particularly interested in your documentation of human emotional responses to reproduction. This challenges our understanding of sentient development I believe the Elinari have much to learn from humans, Zara responded. As they do from us. Over the next 3 months, Zara accompanied Amy to more medical appointments, recorded the physical changes in her body, and observed the social preparations for the arriving offspring. Humans called this nesting behavior, preparing a physical space for the new life. The small room next to Amy and Jack's bedroom was transformed with a small sleeping unit, colorful wall coverings, and soft toys. Zara found herself increasingly involved in these preparations. She helped assemble furniture using her superior Elinari strength, analyzed the chemical composition of baby products to ensure safety, and even attended something called a baby shower, where friends gave gifts for the coming child. You've become part of this experience, Amy told her one evening as they sorted tiny clothing items. Amy's abdomen was now quite large, and she moved more slowly. Is that appropriate? Zara asked. I am meant to be an objective observer. Amy smiled. Sometimes understanding comes through participation, not just observation. As Amy's due date approached, Zara transmitted a request to the Lunari ship, permission to witness the human birth process. Such direct observation had not been part of the original research plan, as it was considered potentially too disturbing for Elunari sensibilities. To her surprise, the council approved her request with the condition that she undergo special psychological preparation first. Telenar personally delivered the training materials to Earth. The council believes your research has reached a critical point, Telenar explained. Your ability to move beyond initial horror to understanding represents a significant advancement in Elunari human relations. 2 weeks later, Jack called Zara in the middle of the night. It's time, he said simply. Amy's in labor. We're heading to the hospital. Zara met them there, maintaining a respectful distance as medical professionals prepared Amy for delivery. The process was long 14 hours, during which Amy experienced increasing discomfort. Zara recorded everything, noting how Jack remained by Amy's side throughout, how the medical team monitored both mother and child, how the human social structure supported this vulnerable biological event. When the moment of birth finally arrived, Zara was permitted to observe from the corner of the delivery room. Despite all her preparation, the reality of watching a new human emerge from another human's body was overwhelming. But unlike her first exposure to human reproduction, Zara now felt something beyond scientific interest, something closer to awe. The tiny human, covered in fluids and wailing loudly, was placed immediately on Amy's chest. Both parents were crying. Now, touching their offspring with gentle fingers, speaking soft words. Hello, Lily, Amy whispered. We've been waiting for you. In that moment, Zara understood something fundamental about humans that no data could fully capture. Their reproduction was indeed physically invasive in ways the Elinari found disturbing, but it created a connection between beings that was profound in its intimacy. 1 week later, Zara prepared for her scheduled return to the Elinari ship. Her extended research mission was complete, and she would present her comprehensive findings to the full council. On her last evening on Earth, she visited the Collins family one final time. Amy sat in a comfortable chair, holding tiny Lily against her chest. Jack brought refreshments, moving quietly so as not to wake the sleeping infant. I have something for you, Zara said, presenting a small crystal that glowed with soft Elunari light. It is an education crystal. When Lily is old enough, it will teach her about the Elunari. It is programmed to activate when she reaches the age of understanding. Amy looked touched. Thank you, Zara. Will you visit again someday? The council has appointed me as permanent liaison to Earth, Zara explained. I will return within 6 months to continue my research on human family development. Jack smiled. You'll have to document how sleep deprivation affects new parents. As Zara prepared to leave, she looked once more at the tiny human sleeping against her mother's chest. Her initial horror at human reproduction had transformed completely. What she had once seen as primitive and invasive, she now recognized as simply different a path to life that had shaped humanity's unique perspective on existence. "Until we meet again," Zara said to the new family, "I will carry what I have learned from you to the stars." As she walked toward the transport that would return her to the Elunari ship, Zara composed the opening lines of her final report. To truly understand another species, we must move beyond our initial reactions to their differences. The biological methods that once horrified me have created a species capable of profound connection, sacrifice, and love. In this, perhaps humans are not so different from the Elunari after all.